The Princess F45 has one signature feature above all others: an electrically extending seat that opens up the cockpit by 40 centimeters at the push of a button. What the brochure doesn't tell you: if your tender is sitting on the platform, the safety sensors simply won't let you use it. And that's exactly when you need it most: in a tight marina, docking stern to, when you want to open up the cockpit for dinner. My name is Tomasz. I've been selling motor yachts for 20 years, and I'm on one side only: yours, not the yacht's. I won't read you the brochure. I'll show you three things: a design compromise hidden in the saloon, one number that will turn your berth into a problem, and the questions you need to ask before signing on any particular model year. Because this is an excellent yacht, and that's exactly why it matters to know where its limits are. Let's start honestly with what Princess actually got right. First, a full beam master suite. Under 50 feet, that's genuinely rare, and this one is done to an exceptional standard, the best layout in its class. Second, the Galley pushed aft, opening directly onto the cockpit. At anchor, this works brilliantly. You cook and stay in the conversation, not locked away in a separate room. Third, the helm station. A single-piece screen gives you a wide, uninterrupted view ahead, and two separate bucket seats are exactly what you want when you're pushing hard. Fourth, the Princess name and 31 knots from the Volvo IPS pods. At the dock, that combination sells itself. Let's come back to that sliding seat, because that's where the most interesting catch in this entire yacht sits. Princess built into this mechanism what they call the tender control system, an electronic lock that stops the platform seat from crushing your tender. The problem: it only works with the factory-specified tender, the Williams 285. Take a larger tender, even a 325, or mount it slightly too far forward, and the lock simply won't release. The brochure implies you can extend the seat without removing the tender from the platform. In practice, to slide it out, you first need to launch the tender. And when you stern to between two neighbors, there's often simply no room to do it. So the headline feature of this yacht and its main tender deployment system are mutually exclusive. Nobody will tell you that at a boat show, but it's the first question you should ask when you go to view one. There's something even more interesting: pure physics. When you step from the cockpit into the interior, you hit two steps in the middle of the saloon. Those steps aren't a designer's whim. To give the master suite below full standing headroom, the saloon floor had to be raised. The space below had to come from somewhere. It came from above. And there are two consequences. At sea, those steps are a genuine trip hazard. It also divides the yacht socially. The skipper and guests forward are on a different level from those back at the galley. That's the honest truth about this boat. Reviewers talk about a seamless connection between interior and exterior. It isn't seamless. It's broken by two steps. And that's the price you pay for the magnificent master suite. While we're in the galley, independent sea trials note that the worktops lack fiddle rails, the raised edges that keep plates and pots in place underway. At anchor, no problem. In a beam sea in the Mediterranean, preparing anything on that worktop becomes genuinely risky. Same with the VIP cabin. The mechanism that converts the double into two singles is clever, but the geometry pushes those berths unusually high off the cabin sole. Reviewers and owners are straightforward about it. For young children, it's less practical than the low, fixed berths you'd find on competing yachts. And here's something that catches most buyers off guard. The F45 is, and always will be, a two-cabin yacht. There is no option for a third cabin, full stop. The Absolute 47, the Galeon 48, and the Ferretti 450 all offer 3 cabins at virtually the same length overall. If you have 2 children and want to bring friends along, the F45 simply won't let you do it. Remember one number from the spec sheet: 14.35 meters. In a moment, you'll see why that's the most expensive number in this entire film. But before I come back to that number, let me tell you who builds this yacht, because it changes how you see its flaws. Princess is not some random yacht. Founded in Plymouth in 1965, and since 1980, their hulls have been shaped by Wrzesinski. The same name stands behind the hull of this F45. 60 years of British production, all in one place. And it shows the structural core, the laminate, the hull, all hold a high standard regardless of model year. This is not a carelessly built yacht, but the F45 debuted in 2019 and went straight into a supply chain crisis. The factory in Plymouth started swapping in alternative components when suppliers couldn't deliver. The core held up, but ancillary fittings and finish suffered. The most serious defect on this model: in early hulls, water gets into the engine compartment from the swim platform side, through the aft deck hardware, and through unsealed holes left by unused fasteners in the engine compartment overhead. This repair is not cosmetic. You need to pull the saturated insulation, strip and reseal all the platform hardware, and close the holes with laminate from below. That's several days at the yard, and a serious bill if the warranty has expired. Two things to check on a 2020 model year: whether the wet exhaust hoses were replaced under the Volvo warranty, that was a systematic campaign around year 3, and whether the original windlass is still working, as it could fail on early boats, with replacement running between €3,500 and €4,000. To be fair, boats from 2023 onwards have this sorted. The yard came through the disruption and quality has stabilized. That's why a newer model year costs more than just the hours on the meter. Now the money. On the used market, the F45 runs from around €850,000 for early examples, up to €1.3 million for a well-specified 2024 boat in Monaco. The market splits cleanly into two tiers. A Seakeeper-equipped boat can command €120,000 more and moves significantly faster. Without one, buyers will punish you on price. So if you find a cheap F45 with the base 600 engines and no Seakeeper, it's not a bargain. It's the hardest boat to shift, because the market expects the stronger 650s and the gyro on board. As for the IPS pods and running costs, yes, they need attention and scheduled servicing. But that applies to any 14-meter yacht running on pods, not just the Princess, so I won't hold it against this model. The real specific cost of this yacht lies somewhere else entirely. Back to that number, 14.35 meters. Riviera ports charge on overall length. At 14.35 meters with the bowsprit, the F45 exceeds the standard 14-meter bracket. That means your F45 won't fit in a 14-meter berth. You'll need a 15-meter one. And 15 meters is the most congested bracket on the entire Mediterranean. It's the ceiling for privately owned family yachts and the floor for the smallest crewed charter boats. In peak season, getting one of those berths borders on a miracle, and the price premium runs €10,000 to €15,000 a year. 35 centimeters. That's all that separates you from a cheaper, more accessible berth category. It's a cost you won't find in any brochure. And this connects to the last thing you need to know. The F45 has no crew cabin and never can have one, not even as a basic stern locker, which owners in this size range are increasingly asking for. So if you want someone on board for lines, fenders, and keeping the decks clean, and when you back in into a 15-meter slot, it really does tempt you. You'll have to give up one of your 2 guest cabins. This yacht is built for the owner at the helm. Full stop. There's one more thing your dealer is unlikely to bring up. The F45 debuted in 2019, making it today the oldest platform in the entire F-series. To be clear, Princess has not announced a replacement for the F45, and the model is still in production. You can order one new. The rest of the range is being updated. For the 2027 Düsseldorf show, the yard is preparing the F54. That replaces the F50, not this boat. But there's one very telling detail. In the new F54, Princess offers an optional crew cabin at the stern. So the yard itself is acknowledging that at this size, owners want crew on board. And the F45 has no room for them, and never will. For you as a buyer, it's straightforward. The yacht is 7 years old and will one day have a successor. Either negotiate hard on a new example, or, my recommendation, pick up a lightly used 2023, which has already taken its first depreciation hit. Now the broker score, the same 5 ratings for every yacht in this series. Build and finish, 7. Wrzesinski's hull and laminate hold a solid British standard, and later production has addressed what plagued the early boats. Ingenuity versus practicality. 5. The master suite is genuinely brilliant, but it costs you the saloon steps, the tender lock, and the hard two-cabin limit. Seaworthiness for its purpose. 6. The hull does its job, but without a gyro, it's genuinely tiring. Cost and complexity. 5. Largely down to the 15-meter berth trap. And resale. 8. This is genuinely the yacht's strong suit. The market is active, and the Princess name holds its value better than the competition. That adds up to a clear verdict. Buy, but the right model year. 2023 or newer, with a Seakeeper and the stronger engines. For an owner at the helm cruising the coast with a couple of guests, this is an excellent yacht. For a family with 3 kids or anyone who wants crew on board, simply not this boat. Buy it for exactly what it is, and you won't be disappointed. Next Tuesday, I'm taking another yacht that everyone praises, and I'm putting it through the same fair score. Subscribe. I'll take this one from your list to the workshop. And if you want someone independent on your side when you're actually buying, someone who will check the model year, the service history, and whether water is getting into the engine compartment, that's exactly what I do. The yacht I'd compare it to is already on your screen. Have a look now.